Okay, so today we're going to work on 1-point perspective. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sort of horizon line or an eye line on our picture going across the page. And to do this we're going to make sure it's a parallel line going across, so we're going to measure down the page 14.5 centimeters. Now let's go over this again just to make sure. The ruler doesn't start at 0, it starts at the plastic edge and then you can see the 0 there. So the measuring starts from that 0 line. Okay, so we're going to go to the top corner of the page there and we're going to measure down on the side 14.5 centimeters. This isn't exactly halfway down the page, but it's quite close and it's an easy measurement to see. So 14.5, we're going to make a little mark there. Go to roughly the center, it doesn't have to be measured, just accurately. So starting at 0 and measure 14.5 down. Now remember, when I do measurements, I always make sure I'm drawing out from the lines. There's 14, there's the half. I'm going to draw a little mark out from the line. I'm not going up and down, I'm going out from the line. And move across, and I want another measurement down on this edge of the page here. This edge of the page here, it's going to measure down 14.5. Okay, and then we're going to join those dots up and have a line going right the way across the page, and it should be parallel as they're all on 14.5. So those two dots, line them up with the ruler. I can see the dot there, and I'm just going to faintly draw a line across. And now I want to join that dot to this dot, so I've got the line continuing parallelly across the page. So I can see the dot there, I can see the dot there, we're joining them up, line lightly across the page. Now this has created our eye line. As this is 1-point perspective, we're going to have a point in the middle of the page. And to do that, we're going to measure across 21 centimeters. Because this page is 42 centimeters wide, so we're going to measure across 21 centimeters. We'll mark up, and I'm going to make that the vanishing point. So I'm going to make that into a small circle, so it's easy to identify. It's not the little dash that we've made to draw a line across, it is a little dot on the line for our vanishing point. The next thing we're going to do is, because we're going to draw a street, we're going to draw a row of terraced houses. So the first line up there is going to be the top of the roof, and the second one the bottom. So to get the measurements for that, we're going to make it nice and easy. These measurements could be anything, but for today, they're going to be 4 centimeters from the corner of that page across. So just going to measure across there, across the top of the page, 4 centimeters. I'm going to put a tiny dot there where that is. And I can also then measure 4 centimeters down the page. So again, from the 0, not from the end of the roof, from 0, 4 centimeters down on it. Okay, so we've got 4 centimeters across there and 4 centimeters down. And what we're going to do then is we're going to join up to the vanishing point. And this is going to create the illusion of the roof line. Now please press very lightly at this stage. The reason is because some of these lines are going to be rubbed out. They are just a guideline to show where the roof is going to be. So press very lightly on that line. And then we're going to do this next one, that dot there. Join the ruler up to it. So you put the ruler on the vanishing point and on the line you want to go to. And a faint line up like that. The next thing I want to do is the bottom of the house, where it's going to stop. So I'm going to measure out here a bit further out. I'm going to go for 6 centimeters. Put a mark there, and I'm going to then join it. So it's 6 centimeters I've measured there, and we're then going to join it to the vanishing point. Okay, and you can start to see where the roofs are going to be, or where the front of the house is going to be. I now want to add a pavement, so we're going to measure 4 centimeters out from that line. Four centimeters out on the bottom, little mark, and we're going to join that to the vanishing point, and that's going to be our pavement. Again, press it very lightly because we're going to rub out some of this line. And the next one, we're going to create the curb. So this is the pavement, but we want a space for the curb. We'll make that 1 centimeter. Quite a big curb, but it's just an easier number to remember. we're going to go for 1 centimetre there and join it to the vanishing point. Just going to make sure I've got to the vanishing point there. Okay, there we go. So it's really important to see that what we're doing here is all the lines we measure out are joining to this vanishing point. This is so important. This is where everything goes into the distance until it disappears. So at this point now, we've created our roof space, the front of the house space, pavement and the curb. Let's put the houses in. And to do that, we're going to have the first house is going to be 9 centimetres long. So I'm going to put the ruler down there on 0 and just put a little measurement for 9. And then we're going to move across, and I want the next house to be smaller. I'm going to kind of half the size. This isn't going to happen continuously down there because the numbers will get too small. But I'm going to make the next house 4.5 centimetres. Okay, and so we're going to have a line here for what first house, second house. Now the third house, I'm going to do not quite half, a little bit bigger, just to give it a bit of space. We're going to go 2.5. So 2.5 centimetres making a mark, and then the last house, I'm going to do 1.5 centimetres. Okay, so we've got 9 centimetres, 4.5, 2.5, 1.5. So that last house is very small. But that's because of the illusion of things getting smaller as they go into the distance. Now, to draw these houses, what we're going to do is I'm going to put my ruler on the edge of the page there, because I know that's a vertical line up, this 90-degree line up. So I want to keep the houses a vertical, as a 90 degrees straight up line. So I'm going to move it across till I get to that, and I just want to make sure that that line is parallel with the edge of the page. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to draw a line down from that roof down to the pavement. And that's our first house. Now we're going to move it across, keep it parallel now with this line. If you can see it's gone on a wonk or on an angle, then it's no good. You need these lines to be straight. You need them parallel with the edge of your page. So move across, straight up parallel with the edge of the page. And then the next one needs to be parallel with that one. Move to there, straight up. Okay, and notice we are not going from the top, we're going from the bottom roof line to the start of the pavement. Move that across, keep it straight, move across to the next line. If I'm happy that that is a vertical line straight down, parallel with this one, draw a line down, and then we're going to move across to the next part. Keeping it, again, 90 degrees, and this will be our last house, line straight down. Okay. So you can see now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 houses, and we've got the roof. Now in order to make the roof look more realistic, we're going to put sort of angled slats on it. So this is the last house in the row, and we need to do an angle, say around about, I don't know, 45 degrees maybe. So this sort of angle, it's very important that you don't have it too straight up. That's not enough, not enough. So you need at least that sort of angle. Okay, and you draw a line diagonally up from the roof to the top of the roof line. So from the bottom of the roof line to there. And you move on to the next house then. So where the line is that you've drawn up, you want to keep the angle the same. So you've got that angle there. Whatever that angle was, move it across to the starting point there and draw the line diagonally up. And you continue the same way. So I'm going to keep that angle, so I drag it across, keep it to there, and then do a diagonal line up. And then the last one is this one here. We drag it across, and you may find on yours it kind of goes off the page, but as long as you keep the angle going right and it goes from there to the top line there, that will be fine. So you can see 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, 4 house. Now some streets have little alleyways in them, and I think it's a really nice effect to create the effect of an alleyway in this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this house is going to be there, this house is going to be there, but we're going to get rid of number 3 house here. And to do that, we're going to get our line parallel, or horizontally across our page, and we're going to drag that down until we get to the 3rd line. 1, 2, 3. So we need to make sure, it's very important that this line is parallel with this horizontal line going across the page. You drag it down till you get to the end of the 3rd line. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to draw that line then from there to the next house. Okay, and already you're starting to get an idea of you could walk up that pavement around the corner. To keep this illusion looking even more real, we're going to follow this line up. So this is the line for the third house, goes up the diagonal of the roof, and what I aim to do now is do a diagonal line back down on the opposite angle to that one. So it's a bit of a guesstimate, but I'm going to try and get it like that, and then draw a diagonal line going down until I hit the next house. Okay, and I think we can see now with the house, we have two houses, and then the third house there's a break in it. We could walk around the corner there. To make it even more realistic, we can add the effect that there's a pavement and a road. So to do that, and we're going to again go parallel with the line in the middle of the page, the eye line. Then I'm going to go just a little bit below the line we just drew. And I'm going to draw a line out from the house right the way across to the pavement, the first line of the pavement. And I'm going to try and judge it, how big the gap is there, move it down that same amount, and draw a line across. Okay, now you should need to do a line straight down there, but I think it's going to quite work, so just cheat a little bit, a line down like that. Okay, and to show the pavement on this side, we're going to drag it down a little bit, just above there, and we're going to draw a line going across there, and then we can do straight down, like that. And this is the final part of the illusion there, because if we draw these in a little bit harder, pavement, the curb, and then we draw this line going up to there, side of the house here, line gone up like there, and that line gone across the top there. So I'm just reinforcing these lines that I know to be part of the houses there. So I'm pressing a little bit harder just to define them. Not too hard though. I want to show where the gaps are. So this is the end of stage 1, where we've created the illusion of a row of houses, a pavement, you can walk around the corner, a gap in the road where you could drive your car up, and a little pavement on this side that goes up there. Just draw that in a little bit then as well. You can see we're going to have to. Okay, so that's stage 1, and we'll rejoin on stage 2. Okay, stage 2. So as a recap, we've drawn our row of houses in. We've got the first house, the second house, and the third house. And we've also got this break in the houses that we could draw a car going up this little alleyway here. We could walk on the pavement, go around the corner. On this pavement here, we could walk up there. So it's quite a realistic looking street, and even more realistic when we rub out these lines here. We'll leave them for now, and we'll rub out the lines later on together to get the full effect. Next thing I want to do is do a door on each of these houses. Now the really cool thing about one-point perspective is that once we've drawn the height of one door, we can gauge the height of all of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a straight vertical line parallel with the edge of the page. I'm just going to move over about a centimetre, about half a centimetre, and then I'm going to draw a line up. You decide how far up, but for now I think I'm going to do mine. I'm going to do it 11 centimetres, I think will be a nice number. So line 11 centimetres up, and that's going to be the height of all my doors. So if I go now to the vanishing point, I join the top of that door, the vanishing point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a line for where I think the doors are going to be. So in this first one, I'm going to just draw a little bit of a line there to show where that door is going to be on the first house. The second house is going to be close to the edge, so I'm going to do a faint line there, not going all the way across, because my door's only going to take up a small section of it. And on the third house, a little faint line there. So you can see this is where my first door is going to be, that's where my second door is going to be, and that's where my third door. Please note though, as each door that I draw in, the second one will be nearly half the size, and that'll be a quarter of the size going up there. So I'm going to draw my first drawing. I want to leave space here because I want a window to go in there. So I'm just going to draw the door, not too wide, another parallel line down. That's my first door. On the second door, on house number 2, I need to draw 2 lines down. So quite close to the edge there, I'm going to draw 1 line down. That's one side of the door, and then there's the second side of the door to make my full door. And there you go. There's the top of it there. Top of it there. And I can rub out these lines later on, but I don't need. Okay, now on the third house, again, 2 lines down, and the door is going to get much narrower here. In real life, the door would be exactly the same size, but because it's gone into the distance, it looks smaller and has to be drawn smaller. So there you go. I've got my 3 doors, each one on one house. Once our door's done, I want to put some windows on. So we'll start upstairs. So let's put some windows upstairs in the house. To do this, I'm going to draw a line here, quite close to the edge again. And I'm going to draw it 6 centimeters. So I'm going to draw a line down 6 centimeters, again parallel with the edge of the page. This gives me the height of all the windows along this street. So again, I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to go to the vanishing point. So I'm lining my ruler up from the bottom of that to the vanishing point there. But I'm not going to draw a line all the way across. I'm going to do a very faint line across these first two houses. Leave a gap there because I don't have to rub things out, and just do a little line across the third house. Very faintly. I think you can just start pick it up there. And then again, I'm going to do the same thing, the top of this window. I'm going to put on the ruler on there, and then line it up with the vanishing point there. And very faintly, I'm going to do a line across the top, the first 2 houses. Don't do anything on this in the gap, but let's do it on the third house. And this gives me a guide for how tall the windows are going to be. Now, as for their width, well, that's up to you. I'm just going to move my ruler across, and this is going to be my first window. So just keeping that line, that ruler parallel. I don't want to go on any wonks or any weird angles. I want to keep it parallel. And I'm just going to then draw a line straight up. And that, believe it or not, is my first window. Got a line there for the side of it, a line there for the second side. I'm going to leave a gap, and I'm going to draw another window. In order to do that, keep the line parallel, move it across, line up. Again, it's getting further away, so it's going to look slightly smaller. So make sure it's slightly smaller gap, not too much. Line up. And those 2 are my first 2 windows. And on my second house, I want to do 2 more. So again, quite close to the edge where the separation is, where the new house starts. I'll put a window in, leave a gap. That is my first window. I want a gap between the windows, similar to that one, so slightly smaller size. And then I move a line across for the second window. So each window has got to have 2 lines going up. And of course I can then draw in these lines here to show where the top of the windows are, just to reinforce it. And again, later we'll go around and rub these lines out. As we get to the third building, it gets harder. Make sure your pencil's nice and sharp for this, because you're going to have to get into a much smaller gap. So there's my first side of the window. Every window needs 2 lines, so that's my second line. Leave a gap, and then do my next line. And then there's the next window in with the second line. So every window has 2 lines down. And again, I'll reinforce where the windows are, and later we'll rub out where they aren't, and that's the gap between them. So see, getting much harder as we get to that house. I wish I'd spaced them out a little bit better now, so that was a little bit closer to the edge, but it's okay. What we can do now is do a window downstairs. So the window downstairs, again, we can draw a line. I would have it slightly lower than the kind of the door frame there. Not much though. Just draw a line down. I'm going to have it about 4 centimeters, not too big there. And then I'm going to join it to the vanishing point. And do a faint line across, going to the vanishing point, slightly across there, and there, very faint line, because we're going to rub out a lot of it. And then the same with the top. So the top of it, we're going to join that to the vanishing point. Very faint line, very faint line, very faint line. There's no need to draw it in the house between there, and there's no need to draw the lines going to the vanishing point, as long as they line up to the vanishing point. That's the big key thing. All these lines line up to the vanishing point, so your ruler must be on the vanishing point, joining it to there. So we've got one side of the window drawn in, so we just need to draw the second line. And there's our window on the first house. On the next one, of course, we haven't drawn a line down yet, so we need to do 2 lines down. So we decide where the first one's going to be, give it parallel to the door. 1 line, 2 line. That's our second window. And move across, same on the third house. 1 line down, 1 line up like that. So 2 lines for each window. And of course then, you can just fill these lines in. Make sure you know which is the lines for the window and which are just the kind of the guidelines. Show us the height and where they're going to be. Okay, that's already starting to look really good.